How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Weeb Lounge. I am Nick, and this character spotlight is focusing on two characters. Kinda. It's a single banner. It is a duo character. Hatsune and Shiori. More commonly referred to as Hatsuri, but it's a celebrity thing, and I'm kind of sick of the little stupid name thing, combo crap, or whatever. It's Hatsune and Shiori. Stop it with the Hatsuri. Okay, Hatsuri. Fine, whatever. But the design of this character, this is probably the most effort in terms of design that Cygames has put in on a single banner slash character, duo, whatever the heck. Let's get to the video. It is seriously well designed. It really is. Even when they're dancing around on the field, they're doing the union bursts. Everything is really well designed with this group, but I actually really like it. But the thing is, support, damage, both, something or whatever. I got this character. I took him to 5 stars, ranked him up as high as I could get it, like rank 20 or 21 or something like that, 21. And I tried to do my best to make this character really suited for either be it arena or some kind of just multi-target fight. I'll get into more details of that in a moment or whatever, but let's just say might not be what we really hoped. Skill number 1, the Starlight Shoot. It is a frontline physical damage attack that scales damage and technique points gained based on the number of targets hit. So obviously right off the bat, you're like, okay, it's got to be a multi-target fight or multi-character fight or something like that, right? So obviously, if you're going up against a single target boss or whatever, all of a sudden, right off the bat, you know this character is probably not a good idea to bring with. Skill number 2, and this has got a lot of text, but it's fairly simple, kind of, sort of. I'll get to it. It is the Sisters Link. It increases the physical attack, physical crit damage of all characters around them. The amount depends on their attack power at the time. Okay. Now, a lot of characters that we play with or whatever have like within range, in immediate vicinity, that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, well, this character in the back row, it says immediate vicinity, but for whatever reason, it's affecting this character on the front line. So it's like you're sitting here scratching your head and it's like, okay, well, where's the circle here? Is it this big? Is it this big? Is it like Shinobu's? I mean, not Shinobu's, Mitsuki. Ugh. Is it like Mitsuki's stupid little circle? She puts it out here. It looks like everybody's standing in it, but it's actually just the one person on the tippy edge over here that's being affected, and everybody else standing dead center is not affected by it because Mitsuki. I don't like Mitsuki. It's a stupid freaking. It's misleading. She's misleading. Okay, that's a little bit easier to understand with this character. When they say immediate range, they mean immediate range or whatever. So basically, they stand in the back. Pretty much anybody around them in the back is going to get this buff. Nothing else. Now, if you have somebody in the mid-range that's standing far back, there's a possibility of them getting it, but I haven't been able to find a character that gets it yet. So it's pretty safe to assume it's just going to be back row characters. So keep that in mind. The area is very small. Now, the good thing about this skill, and you don't get to see this very often, the attack power increase, fairly small. The physical crit, almost insignificant. The crit damage buff, not that much. But the buff is permanent. Once it goes out in battle, it stays out. And of course, all of these stats stack. So this is kind of a ramp-up character, similar to New Year's Carol. So you want to have this character out for a long duration multi-target fight. Okay, now we're weeding down, where we can put this character. Long duration, multi-targeted. Characters in the back are the only ones going to get affected by this buff, so we need physical damage, because that's what they do, in the back. Now, one other thing I want to go in about this skill is that apparently in order to max this out, apparently it's possible to get 4% critical damage increase per buff, but to get that, they have to have their physical attack power at like 47,000 some odd amount. So in other words, you got to get their physical attack power ridiculously high to get the full benefit of this skill. Okay, well, maybe at some point it could be like really good, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. I mean, the fights last a minute 30 seconds. If the fights lasted like 25 minutes and 18 seconds, you know, maybe this would go just ridiculous, because it will not stop stacking because the buff is permanent. It'd be great. You know, if you have a fight, an AFK fight where it can last a couple weeks or something or whatever, the amount of damage they'd be doing it toward the, you know, end of their second weekend would be ridiculous. But that's just this skill. It's permanent, which is great, but the overall stats for it are really low, and to make it significant, their own attack skill has to be significant. So in other words, this skill kind of falls on its face. Long story short, skill, no, it's kind of, I mean, it can ramp up in shorter amounts of time. I'm exaggerating, but you know. All right, EX skill increases her physical attack power if you happen to have her at 5 stars, which I did right off the bat. It greatly increases their physical attack power. And you kind of figured it'd be like a magic physical damage combo thing, because Hatsune's in there and she's always like throwing things, but I guess they wanted to simplify it and only have one thing going. All right, Union Burst, my dear star. It increases their own physical attack power, does AoE damage to the entire field, and a physical attack power buff that, once again, is permanent. And it's a fairly decent buff. Okay, so before I use this character, I'm reading the skills and everything, and I'm like, wow, wait a minute, this really does sound like a AoE version of New Year's Carol, right? They got 2 different buffs, one that's for other people and themselves, and then a bigger physical attack damage buff that's for themselves. They're permanent, and they continually stack. So, you know, after, you know, a minute or so in the fight, and you're, you know, got your attack speed up, you got Summer Siren in there charging, or Yukari charging, or whoever charging, and they're just going crazy, you figure that the amount of damage would just absolutely get ridiculous, right? Unfortunately, the amount of damage that they do at the start is really, really lackluster. No 6-star, no unique equipment, and here's another tidbit that I had to research the hell out of in order to find that I hope a lot of you guys appreciate. There was some discussion as to whether this will count as 2 characters on the field. Some characters have buffs and debuffs that depend on how many allies or enemies there are on the field, and the more allies you have on the field for the buffs anyways, the greater the buff, right? And unfortunately, this only counts as 1 character on the battlefield. You don't get the bonus 2. Sorry, hate to break it to you, only counts as 1. All right, let's go ahead. Get him into the little pew-pew action here. I think I still actually need some June shards, so I just figured, why not go in here and shoot some stuff. Okay, now, I took this character into the arena right off the bat, okay? I basically put him in a group like a Reno group, right? Where you try to get Reno to shoot off her bow or Corona Rain like right off the bat. And so I put him in the group. I had him charge up and fire this right here off, which is actually really well done. I like it. Fire that off right off the bat. Didn't kill a thing. Not one freaking thing. So, in terms of PvP meta, they can work, okay? Especially if you try to do a little bit of a stall fight to where they can ramp up their attack power and everything. But if you're doing the stall fight and you got them in there, then chances are something else is going to happen and they'll be dead anyway, so you probably shouldn't even bother with that. They're rated S tier in the arena. I'm not sure I'd give that to them. You know, maybe like an A+ or S-, you know, so something weird like that. I don't think they quite get that. In terms of other fights and everything, well, obviously they're going to be restricted to multi-targeted, multi-character fights and everything, so there's restrictions. And the amount of damage they're doing isn't that great. And it takes them a while to ramp up. As much as I like both these characters individually, the duo is a cool concept and a cool character in and of itself. But unfortunately, this character basically falls flat on its face. You know, I kind of expected, you know, Hatsune to fall asleep during the Union Burst and just kind of fly off. That would have been funny. Like, just kind of falls asleep, flies off to the distance, and Shiori's like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing this, you know. That would have been a better Union Burst, I think. It was at least more comical. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button, guys. Pretty much, a consensus on this so far has been you can pass on it, right? It's one of the characters where I don't want to tell you to pass, but everybody seems to be saying pass. You don't need them. And the reason I don't want to say that is because those mechanics, they just scream New Year's Danica. Not New Year's Danica, New Year's Carol. I got a Danica video coming up here at some point. So, yeah, brain's a little mush or whatever. But it just screams New Year's Carol. The mechanics, the buffs, the ramp up and such. So, let me put it this way. If they ever come out with some kind of battle mechanic where we actually get more than 1 minute and 30 freaking seconds, which would be cool, by the way, side games, longer battles, bigger battles, more epic battles, give it a try, please. If they did that, this character could really shine, because let's say they do like a 3-minute fight or whatever, they're ramping up, they're not going to stop ramping up, and eventually they're going to be ridiculous. At some point, they get ridiculous. It just takes forever for them to get there. And you can do more damage with other things, which is why this character is more or less a pass. Still like the design, love the design. I still got the character. I don't regret it. See you in the next video.